This video is to show you how to assemble an HK MR223 A3 lower. There are a few differences between this and a standard AR-15. Mainly the trigger assembly is different, as well as the safety does have a roll pin that you have to punch through, and the buffer tube retaining pin also has a roll pin. So the magazine release is the same as the standard AR-15. So just take your magazine spring here. Take the side here that has the texture, the ridges, that goes out. So push that in, and there's more than one way to do this, but basically just kind of hold this in, push it in as much as you can with your finger, applying pressure, and then come to the other side here, and then I'm basically going to try to get it started while I'm still holding on to the spring and the release on the other side. And then I put tape on the receiver just so it doesn't scratch. Of course, that's optional. So just try to rotate it. Try to push the release in as much as you can just to kind of give you some extra clearance. Like so. It should be enough that I started it. Alright, so I got it started. So now what I'm going to do, come to the other side here. I'm just going to use this wooden dowel. I'm going to push this in all the way with the spring, and then like so, and then I'm going to basically just rotate this guy. And for my frame of reference, if you're looking at the receiver from this way, it's going counterclockwise. That's how you tighten it from this frame of reference. And try to just kind of line it up and bring it back. And now you can kind of see that you got it in. I have little wood shavings, you can get that out, it's no problem. Now it's get your ambi release right here. The bolt release on this is also pretty similar to a standard AR-15, although it is ambi. You can see it already has the cutout, which is nice. Anyways, take your spring right here. It looks like that with your plunger. Kind of see that here as well. So you're going to stick your spring in your plunger like so. That just goes down in this hole right here. The receiver right there. See on camera. And then just going to sit your bolt release in it. So this is pretty similar, but it is ambi, so you're going to have to kind of push it in and then kind of slide it over like so. And then the last part, of course the trickiest part, is just getting the roll pin in. I do recommend putting tape on the side of your receiver so you don't accidentally scratch it, which is very, very easy to do. Also, it's kind of a good idea to line up, you won't be able to tell here, but try to line up the hole where the roll pin's going to be going to make sure you can see full light going through it, so you know that you will be trying to punch in the right spot. So kind of set up your roll pin there as best you can. I'm going to start on this side with just a hammer first. And now we'll incorporate the punch here in a second. Alright, part two. The wife yelled at me and said I woke her up last night, so continuing tonight, locking in this roll pin. See how we're doing? Pretty close, actually. All right, looks like we got it. All right, next we're going to do the front pivot pins. I have a helper on the table. It is the longer of the two, so grab that one. And then as far as the springs and the detents, these are interchangeable, so it doesn't matter which one you grab. This is also the same as a standard AR-15, and this is one that a lot of people struggle with because it's very easy to have this spring go flying. So if you've never done it before, maybe put like a towel in front of you so that you can get this done without it going flying. So first your spring goes in. This is your spring, by the way, like so here. So put the spring in here. Next, just do the detent. This can be a little tricky. Try to hold it with my finger here. And then a little trick, you can use like something like a punch, or I'm gonna use an Allen key here. If you can push it through and have it block the detent, that way it kind of traps it, like so. So you can see there it's in place. And then now you're going to push the pivot pin through kind of seamlessly so it doesn't fly out, and catch it. And like so. Got it. All right, next we're gonna do our trigger. So get the standard trigger right there. I'm gonna call this a trigger bar. It doesn't come labeled. Stick that in there. Next, I'll call this disconnector. Put that in the hole right there, and then basically this kind of squeeze it. That little slot goes in the spring. And now you have your bracket. Bracket just kind of holds it all together. So you can see like so, kind of holds like this, like this. My cat's being crazy. And now we gotta get it down in here. And this is kind of the tricky part because it does not want to go. This metal bracket is kind of too fat. We gotta try to jam it in there. So just kind of squeeze it down in there like so. Line up your hole. Basically kind of line up the hole. All right, I kind of had to edit part of that out because it was giving me trouble. I ended up taking punch and kind of sticking it in there just to try to get everything kind of lined up because it all wants to shift on you. So now when you're using the punch to try to get everything together, you can kind of push that through and then kind of just drive it through like normal. Make sure that everything's still lined up on the back. Yeah. There we go. Kind of look at it while you're doing it. You can kind of see it going through. Get the holes lined up just right. All right, got it in. So it's kind of hard to show on camera, but you have to get all three of those things kind of lined up in the same general hole. So a punch can kind of help to keep it all kind of centered, and you almost can do it by hand just about. There's not much needed with the hammer. All right, so next we have the hammer. And it's similar to an AR-15 hammer, but it has this little thing that free floats, which makes it extra annoying. Try to line it up. And these little tabs kind of make it hard with the tension to get it just right with the pivot pin. So, but anyways, turn your legs like so, kind of counterclockwise until they're sitting like this. And this is kind of standard. I'm trying to line this up before I put it in, but put your legs in like you normally would. Cat hair everywhere. All right, put your legs in like you normally would. And push it down. I'm going to kind of cheat and use that same punch from earlier. See if I can't get it kind of lined up. So I kind of got on one side lined up a little bit with that punch. Yeah, it kind of worked. All right, I got it with a punch at least. So now, if I can kind of do this seamlessly, the pivot pin, kind of drive it in real quick before it decides to change its mind on me. Dang it, shifted slightly. Ever so slightly it shifted. All right, try it again. All right, well, I've actually mostly got it now. Just getting it on this side, lining it up. Okay, I was starting to go long, so I had to kind of crop it, but got almost all the way in here. Trying to hold this in place like so. So I can kind of choose like a little wooden rod or something to kind of, don't want to dent it. That's the only thing. Can't quite reach it. I have to just. There we go, got it started. And now I'm just gonna push it in with the wooden rod, dowel. There we go, got it in. Yep, works. All right, next we're doing the safety and the grip, which is the same as a regular AR-15. But if you want the clone correct safety, the HK one, it does have this ambi part right here that gets knocked in with this little roll pin, which is extremely tiny. So if you change your mind, good luck getting that out. Also, if you're going to start, I would have the hammer down in the cocked position to give you clearance to put the safety in, or else it kind of interferes a little bit. And then kind of the same thing as before, you just in here put your little safety detent, try to get on camera there. That just fits down in there like normal, like regular 15. And then just take your grip here, throw your spring in there like normal. This guy was actually very, very snug. I actually had to take a screwdriver and kind of pry it apart a little bit. Like it was so snug it would not go onto the receiver. So if yours is that way, you might have to do that as well. And then for at least the bolt that came in the kit, this is a 4mm. So kind of like normal. Just gonna line this up. Let's see if it wants to go on now. There we go. Of course, the detent wants to fall out, so 1 second. Scoot that forward, like so, kind of push that in. All right, so we're good there. And then just line it up with your hole right there. And get that, kind of hard to do that on camera, but just tightening is this all I'm doing. Come on. There we go, finally got it. And then, yeah, good to go, at least on this side. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead and come back to the ambi safety install. The wife's already in bed, and that requires a roll pin. Don't want to wake her up, so we're going to go to the rear takedown pin, and we can come back to that at any time. Doesn't really matter. This is also pretty similar to a standard AR-15, so just kind of take your rear pivot pin. You can kind of see it here, like so. Just stick it in the back slot, and then take your detent. This is, you should have had 2 of these from earlier, just the ones you didn't use. Same thing, take your same spring like you had earlier, stick it in here as well, so you kind of see where you're kind of lined up. And then this part's also kind of similar but a little different. So you have this part. It's kind of unique to, I guess, the MR223 little sling part, but also kind of lines up here. So basically you just kind of stick that on your tube right there. And this is already, I went ahead and kind of backed this off a little bit on the castle nut. So you kind of just take that and kind of screw it on and just try to get it going without hitting that spring initially. Whoops, let's try that again. There we go. It's kind of starting to contact the spring. So now I'm going to, with it contacting the spring, I'm going to try to push the spring in with my finger and kind of just push this part in as best I can without having the spring fly out the side there. And with it pushed in, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this down like so. And then it just uses a regular AR-15 castle nut, which is pretty handy because I thought you would need a specialized one, but you actually don't. I'm not going to bother staking this. If you want to stake it, you can, but I'm not going to mess with it. Anyways, you're done there. Alright, now we're going to install the ambi part of the safety. I don't really have a good way of supporting this on my table without it falling over, so I'm just going to straddle it between my legs. If you have some sort of rest that will hold it, like the magazine well, that's probably the preferred method, but do what you gotta do. So anyways, slide your ambi part over. It just fits in. I added a bunch of tape just so I won't risk scratching the receiver in any way. And then take your little roll pin, tiny little thing here. And you can kind of start by pushing it in by hand, just trying to line it up. And you can kind of get it going a little bit by hand. And then, like so, if you can see that. And then now, I'm just going to take my punch and my hammer. I'm just going to do light taps so I don't damage anything. Don't risk it slipping. It's wanting to move on me. I really can't see, but it's kind of going. Trying to do this. The safety's trying to wiggle on me while I'm tapping it in. Alright, pretty much make it just a hair more. Alright, so now you can see it's in, pretty uniform on both sides. Alright, we are on our last roll pin right there, you can see it. This is what is the retaining pin, which holds back your buffer and buffer spring. This one I actually recommend starting the roll pin first before you try even putting the retaining pin in, because it's under a lot of spring pressure and it's really hard to hold it in place and trying to knock the pin in at the same time. So I'm going to get the pin started. You obviously don't want to go too far, else it'll interfere, but we can kind of see here. Get it going. Try to see how far you're in. Still good. Alright, I went a hair too far, so I'm coming from the other side, knock it back out. Alright, now we're good. So we got it started. Then I'm going to take my spring, my retaining pin, and it's going to go in like this, where this slot faces the back of the receiver, or the back of the tube rather, like so. You can kind of move that tape right here. You can see that slot faces back, and then you basically got to hold it down and try to hammer at the same time, and it's not easy. Alright, got it going to where it is being held in place, and we're just going to finish this out. Alright, got it good there. I go a little bit farther because it's not uniform on each side. Alright, I think we're good. Alright, we're down to just the buffer and buffer spring and buttstock. This is just like an AR-15, although keep in mind these parts are specific to the MR223 and HK416, MR556, the whole line, so you cannot use a regular AR-15 spring and buffer. It will not work. I assume anyways, I've never really tried. But yeah, just kind of the same as always. Kind of just get the spring down here. And then just kind of push it down. That's all there is to it. And if you're using the HK buttstock, in order to get it on, you're just going to push this right here, and then once you get started, you're just going to pull, and you can kind of look down there and see how it's, if you can pull hard enough, it kind of just, all those tabs go away. So I'm going to get it started here. I'm going to push this in here, and then really pull on it, and we are done. Please note this is not a brace, this is a stock, so if you want to put this on an upper that is less than 16 inches, you have to Form 1 it, or else you're looking at a 10-year felony and a $250,000 fine. I didn't make that stupid rule, but it is what it is, so please be aware of your laws before you put your upper on. Thank you. I hope this was helpful.